Welcome to video blog 3, the coaching process. I'm going to elaborate on what the coaching process is, followed by my coaching philosophy, and then I'm going to analyse an area that I myself could improve on as a coach. Cross and Lilly believe that it's the purposeful improvement of competition sports performance achieved through a planned program of preparation and competition. The coach will manage this process within a time and context-bound agreement, although there will be a variety of implementation within this process. There are three main factors that influence the coaching process that I will talk about. I believe your coaching philosophy to be the beliefs and values on which you base your training principles and program design upon. They are normally shaped by your upbringing and the environments that you have been exposed to as an individual, an athlete, and as a coach. Carpel believes that they're the foundations which guide and direct your coaching practice. Parkin says they come from your truths, principles, attitudes, and values, and change over time. And finally, Reynolds, who believes they clarify aspects of your coaching delivery whilst establishing core values and coaching guidelines. Within my coaching philosophy, I put player relationship and welfare first and second, closely followed by physical and mental development, and lastly, coaches integration. Player relationship and welfare is important to me because it builds rapport, trust, confidence, and in turn creates buy-in. This enables feedback between player and coach, which ultimately enables this athlete-centered approach which Kidman suggests to be so successful work. The following clips show how I develop this player-coach relationship through the use of high fives and training together alongside positive body language that helps create this bond. These moments where we develop this coach and player relationship is what enables feedback to work and ultimately this athlete-centered approach. Physical and mental development is a necessity in ensuring that injury prevention occurs and we enhance the athlete's sport performance. Ultimately, as a strength and conditioning coach, this is what we're going to be judged on. So here I can be seen to be making sure that they develop both physically and mentally, ensuring that they're enjoying it with cognitive development. This supports Coates and Gilbert's model that suggests that is what effective coaching should be. Coach integration is important to me and part of a multidisciplinary approach. However, it comes last on my list because I believe that ultimately if the athlete is comfortable with me, then I'll be able to get the best out of them. I would believe my coaching style to be coach-led but athlete-integrated, and according to Mostyn, I'd use the following aspects. I use command when coaching young athletes who have a low training age and limited knowledge of what they are performing. According to Parkinson et al. In 2014, this has proven to be an effective way of training. Here I can be seen taking a high school athlete through some mobility movements, some activation movements, and some dynamic flex movements, where through the entire process I'm using a command-based approach to coaching. Keep that knee drive. Yes, knee drive, excellent. Self-check is brilliant here because it encourages the athlete to initiate discussion, which creates a feedback loop between the player and the coach. It also helps develop the athlete's knowledge and reinforce movement with cognitive association. Ryan et al. In 1985 supports this theory and also suggests that it increases competence and motivation, which in turn helps lead to autonomy. Here you can see the athlete is using self-check to analyse his movement and then give feedback to myself based on what he thought and what he could feel with his body. According to Decky and Ryan's paper in 1985, the videos we have just seen support this autonomy stage of learning, which should in turn lead to a more successful development plan for this athlete. Guided discovery helps increase the athlete's responsibility, which creates buy-in and in turn increases intrinsic motivation. Kidman believes that this athlete-centered approach is massively important in achieving a successful athlete, whilst Decky and Ryan also believe that self-initiation, problem-solving, participation in decision making is very important. Here you can see the athlete leading the dynamic warm-up. As the coach, I'm just overseeing it and offering guidance. Again, as we move through these videos, you can see the athlete talking to me and just checking that certain things are okay. This is all the athlete leading this and I'm just supporting it. Finally, you can see here the athlete performing some banded marches, which again are on his own accord. Divergent training, particularly through the use of environmental constraints, improves performance through physical and mental learning and improvements in technical aspects, whilst also building attractor states. Decky and Ryan in 1985 suggest that providing the athlete with a choice is a fundamental part of their development. In divergent training, the athlete therefore has a choice of how he chooses
Build
to
up, then
overcome the
through the
environmental
wickets,
constraints.
through the red cone,
As you can
then just
see
look
here,
for the
the
green.
athlete has been given no technical
When you're ready.
instruction on how to complete the task, but rather just go through the wickets to the other end where the cones lie. That therefore means that the athlete has a choice and has to
Excellent, well
problem
done, mate.
solve himself to work out
Love
the
that,
most
great knee
effective
drive.
way to go through the wickets
So we'll go again.
successfully. Once the athlete has
Just want you to
solved the
try and
problem,
maintain
I can then give
that high
feedback
knee
on the
drive
technical aspects which the
all the
athlete
way through
chose to
to the end of the
overcome the
cones,
problem.
okay?
The final part of the coaching process for me is the constraint which you may face when trying to be a successful strength and conditioning coach. Being an S&C coach in a private school means that my biggest constraint is most likely time, particularly with it being an academic school. Lessons, activities, and private studies always get the nod ahead of strength and conditioning sessions. I also have to bear in mind that I only see the athletes in chunks during term time, and so although I try to utilise this to my advantage, it is quite a difficult. Workloads is probably second on the list, with kids going through adolescence and having large amounts of stress from various sports and academic factors, and long working terms all combining to produce tough workload. I also may encounter coach constraints where they prioritise pitch and skill work, and because they have a lack of understanding around strength and conditioning, they don't encourage the players or athletes to partake in it. Equipment is still an issue in schools, largely because S&C has a lag time and has only recently been introduced to schools. This also means that there is a lack of funds, and what equipment they do have needs to be spread across a large number of pupils. Parents are probably my last constraint, with access to children being hard when they're day pupils, and also their lack of strength and conditioning knowledge means that they sometimes try and protect their children from it, as they believe starting at a young age may cause injury. After analysing my coaching, I've selected communication as my behaviour to improve, as I am often assuming that the athlete has an adequate knowledge and understanding of the drills required and the technical aspects he needs to perform. In this example, you can see the athlete performing a banded glute abduction, and I have to step in and give him some technical pointers as he is performing it incorrectly. Again, on the instruction of a single leg hip thrust, the athlete is unsure of which one to perform, and so demos two different exercises here before I confirm which one he should in fact be doing.
Right, if you just want to go through your dynamic warm-up, mate. So yeah, A, B, skip, everything like that.
Following on from that vague description of the dynamic warm-up, the athlete actually performs a B skip prior to an A skip, resulting in me having to communicate across that the A skip should be done in fact prior
Okay,
to
so I
the B
probably
skip.
should have said first, if you start with your A skips, do those first, and then we'll go into our B skip second. So just build up, then through the wickets, through the red cone, then just slow up before the green, okay?
So again, in
So
this
when you're
video
ready.
here, you can see that it was a very vague description with no technical aspects covered. I then realised this error in poor communication, and so now decide to give the athlete some technical pointers that he should focus on.
So we'll go again. I just want you to try and maintain that high knee drive all the way through to the end of the cones, okay?
I also did not communicate effectively enough where the athlete needs to decelerate.
Yeah, deeper out. Yeah, so through this red cone, and then just before the green cone start to decelerate, just so you don't. Very good.
This poor communication and assumption of adequate amount of knowledge and understanding probably relates to my past experiences as a player and an S&C coach in professional environments where the athletes are often at an autonomous stage of learning. These studies support this theory that experts use less working memory, and perhaps this is why I've got into these bad habits of not coaching with enough technical knowledge and advice. Ultimately, each coach is going to have a different method and preferred style, with many different factors coming into consideration that may affect this style and behaviour. What I think is important is that you adjust your preferred style based upon your values and morals, but also based upon the athletes that you're currently coaching and their situations that they're in. Despite my poor communication sometimes when coaching, I believe that I do in fact improve an athlete's competence, confidence, connection and character in specific coaching contexts, ultimately meaning that I'm a successful S&C coach according to Coates and Gilbert. Regardless of this, however, I will continue to develop my communication skills to ensure that I am as best and competent as an S&C coach as possible.